Hey, it's Gavin here. If you're using Zapier Webhooks and you're trying to send information out of your Zap or to fetch information from another service, but that other service requires a bit of authentication. It requires something like an API key, or they've mentioned something about authentication, then this is the place you want to be. This is the video that's going to show you how you're actually going to include that API key so you can do an authenticated request from your Zap. And then also you can see how that information is going to come back. So let's jump right into it. So I'm just going to show you a quick and simple example of how an authenticated request can be done with a Zapier webhook. So if you've ever encountered, you've tried to make a request to some service that you're trying to fetch data from or send data to, and they complain saying you're not authenticated or you're not authorized type of thing, then this is essentially what we're going to be solving today. And it doesn't matter that I'm showing it to you with a GET request. Even if you're doing a post, it doesn't matter. The concepts are the same. In Zapier with the webhooks, the only difference would be you're changing from a GET to a post type, and then you're still going to be included in the authentication in pretty much the same spots. And where it normally shows up in the web and with the APIs that we're using is with an API key. So I'm sure you've seen it. It's those long strings of random characters, and you just have to put it into the correct place. And then the service is like, cool, we know who you are. We can deduct the credits for your quota, for your membership plan, etc., etc. We can limit how many people are using the system. We can give you better service type of thing. So that's why we do authentication. It lets the service know who we are. So in the case of a Zapier webhook, there's usually 3 spots you're going to have to potentially include authentication. It's only one, so it's usually one or the other, but there's 3 potential spots, and I'll show you those quickly. So in some cases, if you've seen my other videos, you have the query string parameters. So often you've seen the URL, it's got a question mark or something like that, and it says equal to something, and it's got an and sign. And then again, so those are your query parameters. But Zapier just lets you put them over here. And in this case, some services, like the one I picked today, is called the News API. It's just a simple, free, and open API. You just sign up, you can get a key. They just have one that's called API key, and they want you to put your API key there. So you might be like, oh, why are you including API key like in the public? Why didn't blur it out? It's just a random account. It's a throwaway account, so I don't really care. So in this situation, we're putting the API key in the query parameters, but there might be situations that you have to put it in the basic auth, and that's actually going to look very different. That looks like it's a username and password combination. So say my username is Gavin, and then my password is password123. So you will have to do it like that. You'll have to split it with that vertical symbol, which every keyboard has. I'm just not sure where it would be on a Mac or on different brands of laptops or computers. But that is how it would look. If you're given a username and a password and the API says it is basic auth, that's how you're going to do it. And sometimes you might have to include the API key in the header over here. So it might be like X_API key or something weird, and you put your API key. Basically the same thing as we did above. It really just depends on the API itself and what their documentation says. Fortunately, I can't show every example because every API is different and every way they do it is different. So in this example, the API key just goes straight in the top here in the query parameters. And you'll see here, I'll make a request. And then I get my results back. Oh, let me retest that because that was a previous one. And then again, I just get the results back. And you can see the structure is the same as any other data that we handle in Zapier in a previous step passed on to the next step. So from here, we can go do stuff with the total results. We can kind of go through all of the results in the articles, write them to a Google Sheet if we want, because they're line items. So we can do all those normal cool Zapier things. So I guess this actually did turn into it also showing you how to handle the response a little bit. But that is what it is. It comes back as JSON, which maybe you've seen that term before. And it's essentially Zapier knows how to manage that data and knows how to work with it. And it gets represented to us the same way we always see our Zapier data. So that works as expected. And just to show you what would happen if I had the incorrect API key. So if I add just a random thing, just so you know when you're on the incorrect path, you'll see that it says your API key is invalid, etc., etc. So that is really all there is to it. So as I mentioned, it doesn't really matter if you're doing a get or post request. I just chose a get request because it was a simple example. But if a post request, it just means you're sending data. And in authentication situations, you're often going to have an API key, but you might sometimes need to use a username and a password. And then you're going to have to put the credentials in different places. Sometimes it's in the query string parameters, sometimes it's in the headers, and sometimes it's in that basic auth section where you split the username and the password. So that is all there is today about that. It did turn into also a bit of a handliness situation, just explaining the data. But if you found this valuable, obviously I'd love and really appreciate a thumbs up. It just shows me that I know you're enjoying these videos and that I know I'm putting my time into the videos. And also it helps my videos get more exposure to people like yourself who want to use Zapier to improve your business, to save yourself time so you can focus on the things you enjoy. And I've got one extra thing for everyone today, is that in the description, I've included a link to my free Zapier Jumpstart guide. And what that guide is I've put together a free guide, and I believe it includes everything that someone should know if they're getting started with Zapier, so they don't get lost. So they actually understand what each step does, what things do, why data moves the way it does. And also when it comes to APIs, some nuances that would really surprise you and that really trips up a lot of people. So just go in the description, get that free guide, click the link, and there's no strings attached. And I'll see you next time.